Hey Alex, I'm Zach.
Hi.
I'm your student PT. For today we're doing the Astrand test. It's a submaximal test. We're hoping to estimate your VO2 max. We're going to get an assessment of aerobic capacity. So we've had you going for your warm-up here. Wattage is at 75. We chose that because you're in good shape. And you just reported that you had an RPE of 8. So we're in about the right range for your warm-up here. We've had you going for 3 minutes. We just took your vital signs as well, and they were also looking great. You had a systolic blood pressure of 124, a diastolic of 78, and your heart rate was at 80. So we're ready to ramp things up a little bit here and get you going to start the test. So the warm-up's over. I'm going to bump you up now to 125 watts. Again, we chose that because you are also in really good shape. And I want you to maintain, if you can, that 50 RPM right here, those revolutions per minute. So keep maintaining that 50 as you are right here, and we're going to go for another 6 minutes, and I'll continue to take vital signs as we go. Any questions?
No, sounds good.
Feeling all right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So, just wanted to kind of refresh you on what we did at the beginning. We had kind of gone over your exercise history. You told me that you were participating in vigorous intensity exercise 4 days a week for over 20 minutes for over 3 months as well. And you also told me about how you haven't had any cardiovascular disease, any metabolic disease, any renal disease, or any symptoms related to those. So we knew that it was going to be okay to exercise without getting medical clearance. We also took your resting vitals, had you sitting for 5 minutes as you remember, and then I took your blood pressure, I took your heart rate, and again we went over those ratings of perceived exertion. Just so you have it, you were at 60 beats per minute for your heart rate, you were at 122 over 78 for your blood pressure, and your RPE was 6. So that RPE, just like in your warm-up when you were resting, correlated nice and well to the heart rate, that RPE. So now that it's been about 2 minutes, we're going to take your vital signs again and see how you're doing with this test. So I'm just going to take your heart rate first. Great. Jot that down real quick. All right. Awesome. So you were at about 134. I just want to take your blood pressure real first. So go ahead, yeah. I'll take your arm. Excellent. Just jot that down real quick. Feel okay?
Yeah, a little sweaty, but you know.
So, would you say on that RPE scale again, that 6 to 20, where would you say you're at right now?
I'd say about 13.
Okay, great. So correlated really nicely again with that heart rate. You're at 134. Your blood pressure, which I just took, was 136 over 82. So everything's kind of responding really well to the exercise. When we were taking your initial resting vitals, we wouldn't have started the test if your heart rate had been above 120 beats per minute or below 50. We also wouldn't have started if your resting systolic blood pressure was above 200 or below 100, and for your diastolic blood pressure if it was greater than 110. So we didn't have that. There was no reason not to begin exercise, and you didn't have any symptoms like angina, mental confusion, like pain at rest, cyanosis, nothing like that. So we were good to go. We have been kind of monitoring how you've been adjusting to this increase in workload. We just want to make sure that your heart rate and your blood pressure is going according to kind of the workload you've been doing. So we would know we would want to stop the exercise if you had a decrease in your heart rate despite the fact that we've been increasing the workload or keeping it constant. If if your systolic blood pressure ever gets up above 220, we'll also stop. Same thing goes if it decreases more than 10 with activity. So far we haven't seen that either. And if your diastolic blood pressure is ever greater than 110 or it goes up or down 10 as well, that would be another indication that we would want to stop.
Okay.
Makes sense to you?
Yes.
Sounds good? Still feeling all right?
I'm all right.
Need some water or anything?
He's a squirt, yeah.
Okay, let's get you a little bit of water here.
Thanks.
No problem. Doing great so far though. So, we've got another minute or so, and then we're gonna take your vitals again. So at the 5th minute and the 6th minute here, we're really looking to see whether or not your heart rate is within 5 beats per minute of one another. That's gonna tell us that we've reached that steady state here. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. And if it's within 5 beats per minute, we're gonna go ahead and start the cool down. I'll explain a little bit more of that when we get to it. So why don't we go ahead, right on time for that 5 minute. So just take your vital signs again. Okay. Shut that down. Awesome, so your heart rate's now at 140. Good. Let's do that blood pressure one more time. Great. Just jot that down. You got it. Nice. So as kind of we were talking about before, your systolic blood pressure went up a little bit. You're now at 146. Diastolic remained relatively the same. I got 80 on that. So overall, that looks great. What would you say your RPE was again on that scale from 1 to 10?
It's a little harder than before. I'd say 14.
14?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So again, that looks great along with your heart rate. It's kind of steadily increasing. Hopefully, with our next minute here, we're going to see that that's going to be roughly the same for those, and that we'll reach that steady state.
Okay.
So you're looking good. So I forgot to mention before, but obviously as I talked to you about, we set that seat height up to be at the height of your greater trochanter to make sure that it was going to be the appropriate length for you as well. So we're actually already now at that 6th minute. Let's take your vital signs once again. Take your pulse. Right, awesome. So I got on that one, same thing as I did last time, you got 140. And let's take your blood pressure again, you're doing awesome. Thank you. Okay. Where would you say you are right now on that scale, that RPE?
I'd say I'm still 14.
Okay, awesome. So your blood pressure that time was 140 over 78, so nice and consistent there. We didn't see any drastic fluctuation. That would be contraindicated to immediately stop the test, so why don't we do our cool down. I'm gonna bring you back to that range that we were in for our warm up. You're gonna be at 75 watts here. Again, keeping it at that 50 RPM, so slow it down just a tiny bit. Looks pretty good. And we're gonna do this for also about 3 minutes, just trying to get that heart rate back down, get you back into that kind of baseline where we were for that original warm up, help prevent some of that blood pooling